Now look at this proven fact. See Walmart receipt? What's on the bottom of them? Voodoo. 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 Receipt after receipt. Voodoo from Walmart. This is one of the biggest national chains in the United States of America. Voodoo. Notice how it's spelled. Item sonus. You can try and claim honest if you want. I call it specific spelling, and we'll go over that in the first place. But provided item sonus, voodoo, that's what it is. Here, the consulting Oxford New English Dictionary, adjudicated fact, reference number, Cobb County Library. Voodoo. The black religious cult practice in the Caribbean and the southern U.S., combining elements of Roman Catholic ritual with traditional African magical and religious rite characterized by sorcery and spirit possession. Spirit possession. I wonder what that would mean. That would mean to take over somebody's spirit from a normal spirit. You normally assume that that just means what? Right there it says it. Adjudicated fact. Cobb County Library, Cobb County, Georgia. Spirit possession. 4231.1 reference number new. Oxford Dictionary. So, all this has come subsequent the drug war. Notice how they're trying to bring my phone out again here. So I just turned all the data off of Exchange. It shouldn't ring out, but they're just trying to mess up my video. It all became subsequent to drug war, during which, using the English letter S, converting to this C-looking symbol in Russian, the Satan key there, NCADD, amounted the acronym MCADD, in triangulation with law enforcement that uses a symbol like that. It's quite often like that. It's supposed to be a magical right symbol according to conventional wisdom, and they created the NCADD, and they used the egg in the frying pan commercials for EG&G Corporation, which has since become URS, and became URS because of the Uranus code, uranium, here it is, the polynomial coefficient U plus R plus A plus N with the uranium to Uranus, which would be the I. If you take these non-nomials here, the US and the IUM, they come down to the IU sum, which goes over to like the IU and like IU pack, and that's the U. That is the atomic symbol U. All the encryption that is compressed filed is the filed name to the letter U, the atomic symbol U representing uranium. That is the reason for the U and voodoo and the item sonus between this voodoo here and that voodoo there. This voodoo coming out of conventional wisdom and history about spirit possession, and this voodoo right here coming out of the adjudicative proven fact of one of the nation's most ubiquitous and redundant necessities item outlets. Now let's take over the spirit possession, or the injury that it can be proven. And of course, that's the U that comes from this whole code here, from the IUPAC table of elements that we've already gone over in a few prior videos. The thermometer, rape urine is at a hospital, set up a child's anus. And that was from the drug war. That was to eradicate feral organics such as cannabis so they could sell manufactured control inorganics, like has been determined in the confessions of Frank Lucas and Ike Taylor, to use military assets to do so in the movie The American Gangster, in which case they were able to flood the country with crack cocaine, which is lab manufactured, because they were congruently getting rid of all the feral cannabis, in which case other people would have either grown their own cannabis, or they would have simply have went out and found some of the woods, but since they had used military items to do so, they then went out and sold all that crack, because everybody's looking for some kind of mood lifter. That's why you use apple flavored shampoo to change the smell of your normal outcome. And since have used the war on terror to apply a surreptitious, as the excuse to apply the surreptitious weapons that are printing out voodoo receipts, for one. Supplies surreptitious weapons on the drug war victims and the victims of the thermometer, Uranus, or Rehabs, that complain about them subjugating personal growth of cannabis and or feral growth so that they can try and corner the market on everything and try and produce their wealth from it. And from which they try and, through these hospitals, and try and force us to this, which has this symbol all the time. Programs where they try and say, though they're following this symbol here, and they're voodooing there, we're supposed to go to programs that follow this symbol here, which is most like this symbol here, which then leads you, of course, to the Red Cross, to this symbol here, the staff of S.L.P.S., where we can find that adjudicated fact of cells, that the cell has a mass, okay? And therefore, these are people that are involved with this kind of symbol are so verbigerant about evidence that when they try to cause these injuries or voodoo possession, what did it say? Oh, spirit possessions, injury to the normal person, the cell, the mass of the cell, the shapes, any of that, by changing the gradients that have come to regulate it, they try and hide the evidence. First of all, let's start with one point, some other evidence. This here is McGraw-Hill Scientific and Technical Terms, 6th edition. There's its adjudicated fact reference number, Cobb County Library. Here it says smoke pot. Notice the S matrix there, the word matrix. That's 1956 page. Look, it says smoke pot. A cylindrical metal metal munition designed to produce smoke or screening for signaling purposes, either by combustion of a smoke producing mixture or by combustion of a fuel mixture to vaporize a smoke producing oil. It may be with or without an ignition device or a filing, and it is not indeed intended for throwing or for firing from weapons. Therefore, I don't smoke pot. Mass society taught me to say the term smoke pot in movies that were secured by things like the FBI to have their little warning in the beginning of all, Cheech and Chong movies, for example, that were circulated when I was a child to say it was called smoke pot. But this is completely, that's what they do, munition. That's military. But notice what it says there, or vaporize a smoke producing oil. So you are smoking pot in your car. You, the cops. You, the sheriff. You, the NCADD. You, the mothers. All vaporizing a smoke-producing oil such as gasoline, for one. By adjudicated fact and material evidence, you're the ones that smoked pot. And here it says smoke. Same thing here. Here's the difference to smoke. Because this is all the things they excuse to try and say that I'm doing something wrong and they do something great. The dispersion of finely divided solids or liquids in a gaseous medium. Nowhere does it say anything about nicotine or plants. So you're smoking every single day. When you put that no smoke building all around those signs, those little signs around your little buildings there, you're the first one smoking around here. You're just not smoking dead prokaryotic cell bodies, plants, in controlled burns, as you call them in the fire department. You're smoking flammable liquids, accelerants. You're putting flammable liquids and accelerants under the more greater probability that they're going to ignite. And yet you've the whole time been calling me the pot smoker, me the smoker, and trying to say absolve yourself of all your habits so you can produce, try and use that as the excuse, the camouflage, to try and attack my cells and cause non-obvious physical or optically observed cell, because even if EKG won't register cellular mass, if the osmotic gradient from voodoo assaults intending to change my spirit, take spirit possession, or change my cellular gradient, my cellular mass, as we say here in the same, scientific McGraw-Hill's cellular differentiation. Cell differentiation, page 350. Cell differentiation says the series of events involved in the development of a specialized cell, such as oligodendrocytes, astrocytes, microglias, Purkinje cells, Schwann cells, and all neural cells, axon buton cells, having specific structural, functional, and biochemical properties, regardless of whether those properties are the product of an oxytrophy that you, through FBI secured movies such as Cheech and Chong's, introduced me to and then tried to keep me from. That's not the point. After the fact, the point is that has become to be the cell non-differential, and the cell differential would then, of course, be your spirit possession, which, of course, would be to change the cell, which is just as obvious as the cell in this picture going from this size, quite possibly, to that size, or from it warping like that, from you changing its monotomic gradient, from your voodoo stimulations of electronics, and then trying to subjugate me from, where is it again? Smoking pot while you smoke pot. Hold on a second. Trying to keep me, subjugate me through your economic system and all your use of all your different symbolisms. You know, that you're trying to keep me this whole time while you fire these electronic voodoo musicians there. You're trying to keep me from smoke the way I smoke, and from smoking pot the way I smoke pot, as compared to how you smoke pot and compared to how you smoke, for the fallacy of economic gain. And the material reality of the physical injury is just as obvious as warping the page on a picture of this cell. I don't need any kind of reality or any kind of test, any kind of subjugation, any more of your invasive ionic stimulations, any whatever infrasound or ultrasound invasiveness to show that that's just that simple when you're trying to, quote, possess spirits through electronic stimulations intending to cause damage after having raped. You're trying to cause that kind of physically obvious damage, warping of the cell. Therefore, there is physical harm. And how many times am I supposed to put up with that much physical harm on a daily basis, that much physical assault, especially prosecutors, while you people just sit there and encrypt it, item Sona said, and then sit there and try and blame on me and say, I'm the threat to you, I'm threatening you, I'm assaulting you, when everything you're doing is on encryption. Everything you do is to try and lead, not leave evidence, and everything you do is to subjugate the neural cells, the internal cells, like my neural processes, so that you don't leave any obvious optical facts. That's not even true either. You know, when I got stabbed in the back in New Brunswick, New Jersey, though 5 people alleged pointed out to the black cop, the black girl who did it, no one ever got arrested for it. I've been physically assaulted so many times, and never once has anybody ever been arrested for any physical assault of me. I've never physically assaulted one person. I've been arrested for allegedly threatening somebody with in a gas station for going and buying a 44 ounce soda, while the whole time they're doing this in America's biggest, most redundant necessities item outlet. Voodoo, voodoo, voodoo. Item Sonas, voodoo.